It's one of the most appetising fixtures in the quarter-final stage, and it is a huge game for two sides who are in the upper echelons of the La Liga table. Barcelona, of course, are top of the pile in La Liga Santander. Real Sociedad bringing up the rear in third place, having an excellent season. They're on a club record winning run in all competitions, but they come to the Camp Nou, which has proven to be a difficult place for opposition sides. The game about to get underway at 9 p.m. local time. Great atmosphere here as ever at the Camp Nou as the fans continue to file in. It's a cold, windy night in Barcelona, and we'll see how these two sides fare. If nothing is settled by the end of the 90 minutes, we will go to extra time and potentially penalties. But it's early in the night so far. Both sides will look to get this done within regulation time. Barcelona against Real Sociedad in the Copa del Rey. Starting lineups to come. We will begin with the team chosen by Barcelona coach Xavi Hernandez. And it is a full-strength Barca side. Marc-Andre ter Stegen comes in goal. Koundé, Araujo, Christensen and Balde, the four at the back. De Jong, Busquets and Pedri, the trio in midfield. Robert Lewandowski's suspension in La Liga does not apply in the Copa del Rey. That means he's available with Gavi one side, Ousmane Dembélé on the other. That is the lineup for Barcelona. We will have a look at the first 11 chosen by Real Sociedad in just a second. They will be the side playing in the blue and white stripes. It's Ramiro in goal, Elizondo, Zubeldia, Lunomond and Diego Rico at the back, Zubimendi ahead of them, Bryce Mendes, Kubo and Marin playing in the midfield. Up top, Oyarzabal supports Alexander Sorloth, the in-form Norwegian striker. There is Bryce Mendes, and there is Mikel Oyarzabal. He's put his injury woes behind him. He starts today for Imanol Alguacil's side, and it was a slightly risky move perhaps. The big games need big game players, and Mikel Oyarzabal is just that. Scored in the Basque derby against Athletic Club. He looks to make an impact here at the Camp Nou, where Real Sociedad get us underway, shooting from right to left immediately. It's brought down by Sorloth. On this Barca's first top-flight test in the Copa del Rey this season. They had a somewhat favourable draw entering the competition in the latter stages due to their involvement in the Spanish Supercopa. They're up against Intercity, who made things tough for them, pushed them all the way into extra time before a 4-3 victory. Ceuta were an easier prospect. They bested them by 5-0 last time out. This is Dembélé. Tries to cut that in as the ball goes out. We will have the first corner of the game. Taken from the right-hand side. Delivered in there by Pedri into the centre towards the penalty spot, just too high for Araujo. As it comes back out to Alejandro Balde. A few changes in defence today. It's Koundé who moves over to the wing. The full-back Played in the last game at centre-back alongside Andreas Christensen. Here's Koundé trying to get one down the line. Last game for Barcelona did come in La Liga Santander. It was a 1-0 triumph over Getafe. Pedri with the goal on that occasion. And Real Sociedad go forward. Sorloth is looking for the pass. He's gone beyond the offside trap. And this one will be pulled back across, and it's going to be cleared out of the 6-yard box. Both sides have breached the opposition area early doors. The throw will be taken by Diego Rico. We have another look at the chance. It was cut back through the legs of Jules Koundé. Now held up here. Which have attacked Kubo. He was rested as a precaution in Real Sociedad's victory over Rayo Vallecano this past weekend. This time around it's David Silva who drops out of the squad late on. Inconvenienced yesterday in training. Means that a vital player unavailable today for La Real. That's Lewandowski who's brought down one of the first fouls of the game. Now to Marc-Andre ter Stegen, replaces Iñaki Peña today, who has up until now been the club goalkeeper. That's the left. It's a call to get that back as Gavi is giving a little shove. This is Busquets trying to weave his way into the box. Busquets lays that pass off. There's the strike, right-footed over the top. First effort of the game from Barca. It's Alejandro Balde losing his footing, sends that over. For Real Sociedad, they try a long ball forward. Try and pick out Alexander Sorloth throughout. He will have Oyarzabal supporting a player who's very capable of playing tricky passes into the area. Signed by Dembélé. Dembélé has found the pass. Well, they get shuffled this time to get the cross in. It's not fully cleared for Real Sociedad, who give that away carelessly. Corner kick on the way. La Real on a club record, 9 consecutive victories in all competitions. They've been rising their way up the table. Imanol Alguacil has a long-term project. He's blooded some youngsters for the Basque side, who are now integral parts of the first 11. The corner swerves in, it's punched away by Ramiro. Finally sent away by Real Sociedad. Here's Kubo trying to break. It's taken away from the number 14. It goes back to Elizondo. It's a nice pass across. Diego Rico. Rico down the line. Sociedad, a side who play some excellent football, but you have to wonder how they'll do without David Silva pulling the strings in the midfield. Back by Martin Zubimendi. Transfer target for Barca. Heavily linked with them in the transfer window as a future replacement for Sergio Busquets. Rico on the left, headed over the top of Dembélé. Koundé goes to search for it and hassles Pablo Marin. Zubimendi was unavailable against Rayo Vallecano through suspension. Returns fresh for this contest. Punched away by Ramiro. Has it at the back, and Sorloth was trying to catch out Marc-Andre ter Stegen. There was just a moment of doubt for Jules Koundé. Somewhat surprising that he would be playing at right back today. Formed such a good partnership against Getafe alongside Andreas Christensen. Those two perhaps Barca's most solid centre-backs this season. Both new arrivals in the transfer window back in the summer from Sevilla and Chelsea respectively. Played long. Did look as if Lewandowski was offside there. Play continues. It's Gavi who's muscled off the ball. He's going to chase it down, Gavi. He's going to roll higher up the pitch today. It's always good to see because he does have that grit and determination. He's also a great player on the attack. Scored that goal in the Spanish Supercopa most recently against Real Madrid. To open things up for the Blaugrana. This will go back to Marc-Andre ter Stegen. To the right, Dembélé will do well to keep this in. Ousmane Dembélé does keep it in, and he will cut inside from the right, puts it onto his left foot, brings it in, and it can't quite be finished off. It looks as if maybe Ramiro got a touch. Dembélé does ever so well, just waits his moment to make the run, keeps the ball in play with his toe. Cut inside. It was Lewandowski's strike off Zubeldia. Corner played short to Dembélé. Frenkie de Jong lifts this into the box. It's headed down. It's a real scramble there. The attempt to fire that in on the rebound, unsuccessful first time around, and then Araujo up with an effort just wide of the right stick. Shortage of opportunities so far. That was the clearance that hit the arm of Robin Lenormand. Nothing in that for handball. He was actually being grabbed by the Barca player. Pedri. Still in turn there. He was brought down. Pedri's so dangerous with the ball at his feet. Shame that we don't see him up against David Silva today. Those two players from the Canary Islands, such a similar style. Dembélé tries to go outside. Dembélé crosses that in. It's fallen loose here. There's the strike, and it finds its way into the net. Offside flag will go up against Frenkie de Jong, who, try as he might, could not stop interfering in play. He was on the goal line, tried to move his body out of the way. He actually goes in off the Dutchman. The goal will not stand. It remains 0-0 at the Camp Nou. And Lewandowski was arguing his teammate's case. Busquets is arguing that the free kick should be taken a little further back. There's a shot fired across the bows by Barcelona. Well, Lewandowski is still talking to Gil Manzano. Remember, he is still suspended in La Liga Santander. For a disciplinary matter at that. Well, the referees were roundly booed as they made their warm-up, jogging around the pitch before the start of the game, somewhat pantomime style. A fairly obvious decision though for the offside. Barca who win a free kick there. Lewandowski given a push in the back by Robin Lenormand. Back to Ter Stegen. Away here by Lading, and that goes just too far as Dembélé cheats his way inside, finds some space over on the left for the pass to Alejandro Balde. Balde got that call up to the Spain squad with the injury to José Luis Gaya just ahead of the World Cup in Qatar. Pacey player, he seems to have won out position. That's upfield to Pedri, but Pedri seems to be offside. Pedri going to the corner, back heels it there to Dembélé. Balde will take this on. Back to Frenkie de Jong. Frenkie de Jong chips that over. Opportunity here for Barca. It's brought back across and Real Sociedad send it away. Once again, it's the last port of call at the back. The combination of Zubeldia and Robin Lenormand. Bit of controversy about ticketing today, just under 200 away tickets allocated to Real Sociedad fans. Not a full house here tonight at the Camp Nou. Steals place to Koundé. It's now come to Dembélé. He's been one of the danger men so far, played inside. Pedri can't line up a shot. Uses that close control, it's flicked towards goal, and Frenkie de Jong nearly makes amends for his earlier error. Ramiro makes the catch, and that fortuitously hits the heel of Ronald Araujo when Real Sociedad were trying to pick out Alexander Sorloth. It's the right-hand side, kept in by Dembélé. Pedri. Difficult to take the ball away from Pedri. Balde. Goes into the box, it's brave from him. Takes on 4 attackers, they crowd around him. And it's come to Takekubo. The Japanese turns, he breaks away, it's good from Takekubo. He'll find the pass to Sorloth. Araujo is following Sorloth all the way. Who will win out in the battle for pace? Sorloth is brought back. Araujo is wrestling with him there, and it looks as if Barca have been given the free kick there. Well, Sorloth was being grabbed, but he was giving as good as he got. This is Pedri, close control aplenty. Going upfield is Robert Lewandowski. Lewandowski holds on to the ball. Well, he is penalised. Lewandowski has been active so far. It's been a week's rest for him. Unable to feature against Getafe due to that suspension. Inevitably, he is first choice whenever available Brilliant goal-getter, 13 goals in La Liga, more in the Cup and the Supercopa besides. Outstanding first campaign for Robert Lewandowski, adapting perfectly to Spanish football. Lovely pass there from Koundé, that will set Dembélé off. Dembélé runs at the defence, goes inside and out, tries that left-footed shot, it's just wide from Ousmane Dembélé. He was well entitled to go that alone after his diagonal run into the centre. Set up there by Koundé's pass. Dembélé running at Lenormand, who could not turn to face him. It's just wide from Dembélé. So coming up to 20 minutes gone. Had a few shots. Mostly been Barca who have applied the pressure. Koundé. Rolls the ball back to Ronald Araujo. Returned in style from those injury woes. Ronald Araujo to score in the game against Intercity. Could see a goal here as the defence get back. Barca have 3 players forward. It is a foul on Robin Lenormand. Well, just looks at Lewandowski maybe was offside there when the pass was played to him. A stiff arm out as well to Lenormand. Emmanuel Alguacil telling his players to get a little bit more compact. Trotted over the halfway line, will go through to Ter Stegen. Dembélé. Well placed to Pedri, who turns, gets that to Frenkie de Jong. De Jong to the left-hand side. Early cross in. Doesn't quite go away. It nearly fell to Gavi, who was waiting on the edge of the 6-yard box. He would have been onside if that ball had been played by the Real Sociedad players. Dembélé is inside again, tries that low ball, it's nearly converted at the near post. Ramiro seemed to think he had it covered, and then in came Frenkie de Jong at pace, sliding to the near post and putting the ball just out of play. Ramiro. Another close call from Barcelona. Balde. Just in their attack at Kubo. It's put back in unorthodox style into the defence. Tried at times to play a high press. Real Sociedad hasn't really come off. That's great skill from Ousmane Dembélé. Playing themselves out of any trouble. Throw it to Barca on the far side. Again, it's De Jong who was knocked over there. So we have just gone past 20 minutes played. It remains Barcelona 0, Real Sociedad 0. There's another attack for Barca down the right. Real. A slightly late challenge there, a little bit scrapping. It took down Robert Lewandowski. Down as a result of that challenge on him. Here's another look at Dembélé setting up Frenkie de Jong. So very nearly came off for Football Club Barcelona. So our players take advantage of this time to get some tactical instructions from Imanol Alguacil. Xavi pacing his tactical area. Lewandowski is up to his feet. He maybe fell awkwardly on his arm. He'll await permission to come back on. Lenormand. Lewandowski's asking to come back, and he's finally given permission to do so. Zubimendi is now over onto the left-hand side for Diego Rico. He plays in. It's Zorloff who claims ahead of Ronald Araujo. Can Barca try and break? That combination of Koundé and Dembélé down the right-hand side has been quite fruitful so far. Here is Dembélé. Still going here, he'll try and beat Lenormand for pace. It's a battle of the two Frenchmen, delivered in by Dembélé, falls outside the area. The challenges for that second ball, and again another player down. This time around it's Busquets. As Barca win a free kick in a good position to maybe lift a diagonal ball into the penalty area. So it looks like it's going to be Pedri who sends this one on its way. Two-man wall for Real. He's lifted in diagonally. And just hanging in the air was Ronald Araujo. He couldn't quite make contact with the ball. So have had the lion's share of the possession so far, as expected. It's ticking along nicely for the Blaugrana. Racing through the middle. Gavi's still going here, he does not give up. Good advantage played by the referee, and that one poked across, and Gavi was still down. There's another tangle there. Well, Gavi is not afraid of giving as good as he gets. Sometimes he does have to watch his discipline. The referee being surrounded by Barca players, they now focus on the task at hand as Koundé plays back to Ronald Araujo. It's a big week for Real Sociedad. They play Barcelona tonight at the Camp Nou. They then play Real Madrid at the Santiago Bernabeu in La Liga Santander. That could be a game that defines their title opportunities. Gavi was taken down again there. Dembélé tried to play that through, and it's tapped back to Alex Ramiro. Well, another nervy moment for La Real. Knocked back by the defender who urges calm. Lenormand was caught in possession, and this was the drag back by Andreas Christensen, who'd remained forward after the set piece. Lenormand. Decimals are rising here at the Camp Nou. We're about to hit the half hour. Ball played in ambitiously, looking for Pedri on the run through the centre. Busquets. That's the right, it's Dembélé in possession. Dembélé runs at Rico. Glides past him, plays the pass. There's the back heel. It's come towards the edge of the 6-yard box, and again Barca just can't quite find the finish. Lacking that final shot. A wealth of opportunities so far, almost into double figures. Time around it was Pedri who was charging at the ball. Sorloth has an opportunity to run here at Christensen. It's come to Pamplona Marine. The youngster glides past two defenders, taps it outside. It's a very good pass. The strike hits the crossbar. It looks as if Marc-Andre ter Stegen got a chance to tip that onto the bar. Another ball in. We'll get a replay to see just what happened there. It's the best opportunity so far for the visitors at the Camp Nou. Bryce Mendes was pulled down there. We will get a look at the opportunity just after seeing Balde's foul on Bryce Mendes. Here it was, Sorloth with the pass. Takit Kubo was given the ball. Struck that one. Let's just have a look to see if Marc-Andre ter Stegen, he looks as if he just gets a fingertip on it. Enough to divert it onto the crossbar. The box, the ball flicked on, it couldn't be hit on the drop. With a great chance to guide that goalwards. Aritz Elizondo can't make contact with it. Long trying to pick out Lewandowski. It seems as if La Real have woken up here, breaking into the opposition half again. They've been on the defensive for so long in this first half. Shove Lewandowski off the ball is unsuccessful. He keeps going, plays to Gavi. There's the 1-2. Lewandowski opened it up to Pedri. Pedri with the strike, the bouncing effort is claimed by Alex Ramiro. There's some cheers here. It was Bryce Mendes who was caught by the flailing arm of Robert Lewandowski. The stiff forearm catches. The player signed from Celta Vigo last summer across the jaw. So Bryce Mendes is back up, but he's pleading his case to the referee. Pablo Marin, the youngster, is receiving some instructions. Brazil talking to him. There's been a lively Copa del Rey clash so far. Still no goals. Barca have come close. The closest, though, maybe, has been that Real Sociedad chance they hit the bar. The player is down inside the centre circle. Bryce Mendes perhaps responding there to the challenge from Lewandowski. Pedri is targeted in the centre of the park. Mr. Manzano restores some order to proceedings. Some great quality in the quarter-final stage of the competition. And your previous winners, large amount of teams from the top 8 in La Liga, as well as the sleeping giants Sevilla, who aren't having a good campaign, but they take on Osasuna tonight. Always a threat in the Copa del Rey. The most successful team ever in this competition. Supercopa champions. That trophy won a couple of weeks ago. Dembélé. Dembélé still going, just toying with that Real Sociedad defence. Same move every time, and it's successful every time. Busquets. Into the box there, headed back, and Ramiro claims there have been some rumours abounding that Ramiro wants away from San Sebastian. He's been linked with a move to Tottenham to replace the out-of-form Hugo Lloris. Interception there by Diego Rico could lead to something promising for La Real. It's one back by Busquets. That's an awkward challenge. The referee calls play back. He's maybe going to show the first yellow card of the game. Well, Mr. Gil Manzano resists the urge to do so. He does warn Bryce Mendes. There was Lewandowski. Again, tangling with Lewandowski. And those two have had a running battle throughout the first half. Seven fouls committed by Real Sociedad to just two from Barca. Sorloth runs into Araujo. A clash of giants ends with Sorloth on the deck. Sorloth from Frank Kubo. It's Frankie de Jong who races away there. He just shakes off Take Kubo. He played a relatively poor pass that Elizondo was able to sweep up. Another awkward ball, and the referee goes over once again. He reaches into his pocket. Bryce Mendes is going to be shown a yellow card. Maybe not before time. It has been foul after foul after foul. Oh, that was Sergio Busquets who slid in first, and look at that. Bryce Mendes goes over the top of the ball. Any other day, that could be a red card. Bryce Mendes escapes with a yellow. Busquets escapes with just a stud mark to show for the collision. Still recovering. The ball will get back in play. We'll just have 6 more minutes. Well, VAR is going to be looked at here. Maybe a sending off for Bryce Mendes. But Manzano has been urged to look at the video screen. And La Real could be reduced to 10 men. It's for that challenge, which catches Busquets just above the ankle. As ever, the still footage maybe looks worse than the video. So Manzano says no yellow, it's a red. La Real are reduced to 10 men. 40 minutes in, Bryce Mendes loses his cool. There were some constant fouls involved between him and Lewandowski, but it was a challenge on Sergio Busquets that sees the Real Sociedad player sent off. Goes over the top of the ball after Busquets had made the challenge on Take Kubo. Real Sociedad now at a significant disadvantage, a man down and missing a player who has been one of their best so far this season. So it is set to be a long night for Real Sociedad. Sorloth. Sort of grabs that away from Frankie de Jong. Down the right-hand side. And play once more. Real Sociedad maybe just have to defend their way into half-time. And get reorganised in the dressing room under the instructions of Imanol Alguacil. Araujo. Dembele. All flicked on, lovely touch there. Ramiro stands strong-motored and Gavi. The goal would not have stood anyway as Gavi was caught offside. The linesman on the near side raising his flag. There have been some delicate touches so far from Barca in the final third. Lewandowski there turning on the style. Ball by Ramiro. We'll have a little bit of time added on when the first 45 is up. Not by Take Kubo there. Disciplinary woes for Bryce Mendes continue. Had to miss a couple of games of suspension already this season. His temper was going to lead to something, but he went over the top of the ball. Studs showing, caught Busquets on the ankle. It was a petulant response from Bryce Mendes. It's come to Koundé. Dembele, not through. Koundé dribbles back. Oh, Koundé trying to curl that inside the back post, not quite successful on that occasion. Koundé's cut inside. Swung at it left-footed. The ball goes out. By Ramiro. Araujo. Dembele on the right, couldn't get past Diego Rico. Alguacil has not made a substitution in light of the sending off of one of his more attacking players. He's been relying on defence so far. We're going to have 3 minutes added on at the end of the first half. Ball nodded down. It's come to Gavi. Rocks brought down. Looking for the strike there. It falls loose. It's another scramble inside the penalty area. And it's a call made against Barca, attacking foul. Ball from Ramiro. Ter Stegen, risky ball out from him with Sorloth lurking. To the edge of the area, maybe a shot on here, just a little shove off the ball from Araujo was enough. Kunde. To Dembele. Pedri nearly breaks away, but Lenormand heads him off at the pass. Brilliantly brought down by Dembele. What a star he's been in the first half. He tries ambitiously to find the ball through to Pedri. Also with a late push in first half stoppage time. First half's been full of great skill on display in the attack from Football Club Barcelona. We have seen a good chance for Real Sociedad though. The effort that hit the crossbar. Well, upfield headed on, it will be taken by Ter Stegen. As we reach half-time, it's still goalless between Barcelona and Real Sociedad. But we have had Real Sociedad reduced to 10 men. The sending off of Bryce Mendes, making things difficult for the visiting side. Second half on the way, half-time score, Barcelona 0, Real Sociedad 0.